Part 17. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 161. Stop, the doctor doesn't need to talk to me anymore. I'm just a secretary and have no right to ask anything. Thank you. Wen Qiao understood that the secretary was just a shield. The school had a perfunctory attitude towards them, no matter how many times they came, whether she came with a certificate or a Wenqi psychiatrist. The results are the same. Then please bring my words to your principal. Dr. Chen was still arguing, and the secretary looked contemptuous. We can't let all the other students in the school live in fear for one student. I emphasize again, Wenqi, he will not hurt anyone. No. Wenqi has a lot of fight records in school. Do you need me to find witnesses? I heard that he is very irritable. That was before. Since taking over the treatment, his condition has almost recovered. The secretary smiled coldly. Sorry, it's 1 in 100, no, it's 1 in 10,000. We must strictly avoid it. Wen Qiao gritted his teeth and said, have you ever heard from your school about why Gonglin hurt others? He was under long-term pressure. If those people hadn't taken the initiative to provoke him and stimulate him, he wouldn't have hurt anyone at all. As for Wenqi, he is almost cured, and even the doctor has proven that he is not aggressive. What else do you want? The secretary just rolled his eyes at Wen Qiao indifferently. Our goal is that if you are mentally ill, please take them home and don't bring them out to cause harm to society. When Gonglin hurt people, Wenqi helped your school control Gonglin regardless of the danger. Is this how you treat him? The secretary was impatient. One code equals another. In short, he is a mental patient. The school will not take risks. Please come back. Even highly educated social elites like Chen Yanfei were so angry that they kicked the door down and said, you are really unworthy of being educators. Wen Qiao whispered to Lu Yuyu, record a video. Lu Yuyu understood Wen Qiao was probably going to do something, and immediately took out his cell phone, secretly started shooting a video. Wen Qiao took a step forward and said calmly, I heard that you became the secretary to the principal of number 9 middle school through connections. The secretary lady's face suddenly darkened and she said sternly, what are you talking about? I also heard that your son also took an unfair path to college. The secretary's eyes were filled with fire. Why are you so crazy? Isn't it? I also heard that your husband cheated on you. The secretary suddenly raised his hand and was about to slap Wen Qiao. Wen Qiao grabbed the secretary's wrist and said, I just said a few words about the rumors I heard. Are you going to slap me, Madam Secretary? Do you also have mental problems, illness? Can't stand the excitement? Will your stay in this number 9 middle school also pose a threat to the students in the school? The secretary gritted his teeth. I won't mess around with you. Are you being arrogant? I'm just discussing the matter. You can leave. If you don't leave, I'll call security. The three of them were kicked out of the school by the school's security guards, looking quite embarrassed. Wen Qiao posted the video and Wen Kai's medical certificate on Weibo without disclosing his name. He also wrote a long Weibo post, clearly explaining the ins and outs of the incident. There are different opinions online. But the majority still support it. Most people feel that since they have issued an authoritative psychologist's report confirming that the student is not aggressive, they should not be deprived of their right to study. However, is the support of public opinion useful? It didn't work. 9th middle school spent money to lower the trending searches and sent out trolls to attack Wen Qiao's side. Countless unsavory comments poured in. With the rhythm brought to the sky, public opinion instantly unified. Since you are sick, don't come out to harm society. Wen Qiao knew that she alone could not resist a capital. She felt the insignificance of her own power. Fu Nanli had just finished flying to Munich. He had just returned to his office. He did not hold an umbrella, and there were water stains on his uniform. He was about to wipe it with a tissue when he saw an incoming call from an unknown number displayed on the screen. He answered in a deep voice, Hello Mr. Fu, I take the liberty to disturb you. I am Lu Yuyo, Wen Qiao's good friend. What's up? Please help Qiao. Thank you everyone for the rewards. Asking for recommendation votes. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 162. The atmosphere at home was not good. When Su Yun found out about this, she was anxious and helpless, thinking about where she could find connections to get Xiao Qi to stay in 9th middle school. There were no powerful relatives at home, so she could only worry. But we still had to eat. Su Yun called Wen Qiao into the kitchen. There is no light soy sauce at home. Let's go to the store and buy a bottle. Okay. Wen Qiao walked out of the yard and walked in the quiet alley. It was already night, the street lights had not had time to turn on, and the alley was filled with twilight. When he walked to the corner, he was suddenly pulled in. Wen Qiao was startled. He looked up and saw Fu Nanli. The dim yellow light shone through the blue bricks behind him, and only the worry in his eyes could be seen. She was pressed against the wall, and Fu Nanli's voice reassured her as usual, "Why didn't you tell me?" Wen Qiao pinched the corner of his clothes and said in a tone of imperceptible grievance, "You are working, I'm afraid it will disturb you." Fu Nanli frowned deeply and held her hand tightly, "Let's talk about it after you go to my place. I want to buy soy sauce for my mother. You go back first and I'll go there by myself later, okay?" The man had a sullen face and did not respond. Wen Qiao hurriedly went to a street shop to buy soy sauce. After returning, he ate dinner in a hurry and found an excuse to run out. When he passed the same corner, he was pulled by the man again. Wen Qiao was surprised. "Didn't I ask you to go back first? Have you been waiting here for me?" Fu Nanli held her hand and walked out along the alley. Wen Qiao even forgot that her mother didn't know that Fu Nanli was her boyfriend. She forgot to hide it, so she was held by him and followed behind him, forgetting for the time being all the sorrow. Under cover of darkness, he pulled her into the car. Fu Nanli said in a deep voice, "Tell me the whole story." When he arrived downstairs in his apartment, Wen Qiao happened to recount the incident. He reached out and grabbed her chin. "I don't want to hear about you from other people in the future. If anything happens, come to me as soon as possible. Find me yourself. Do you hear me?" Wen Qiao nodded, "Yes." The two went upstairs and opened the door. When they were still at the entrance, Fu Nanli made a phone call and said, "Fu Cheng, do something for me." "Brother, what's the matter?" "Buy 9th middle school for me." Wen Qiao. "Yes, but it's not necessary." "Brother, when did you become interested in education investment?" Fu Cheng's teasing voice came from over there. "It's an emergency. I'm not joking with you. Do it for me as soon as possible." Fu Cheng on the other end heard the displeasure in Fu Nanli's tone, so he didn't dare to joke anymore and immediately responded, "Okay, I'll get started immediately. No matter the cost, I have to buy it. With your words, things will be easier to handle." After hanging up the phone, Wen Qiao hadn't recovered yet, so she just looked at him. Fu Nanli reached out and unbuttoned 2 buttons, held her hand and walked to the sofa in front of the floor-to-ceiling window to sit down. "There's no need to go into such a big fight, right?" His family knew that he had invested heavily in acquiring a school just to allow her brother to continue studying. They would definitely think that she had bewitched him. This is the simplest and most direct way. I don't like complexity. The management of number 9 middle school arbitrarily deprives students of their right to education. People like this will inevitably mislead students if they mix in the education system. It's better to just buy it directly. The rights should be invested in education. Wen Qiao. What he said made sense and she couldn't refute it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 163. If only your mother knew. His mother seemed to be a rational and sensible person. Frankly speaking, she liked that lady a little bit, which was different from the wealthy lady in her impression. She won't interfere with me making any investments. Not only would Ye Mingqiu not interfere, but whenever her son did anything related to business investment, he would burn incense. Okay. It doesn't matter if you lose. The floor lamp and the street lamp outside the window complemented each other. Fu Nanli put his arm on the back of the sofa and clasped the other hand on the back of her neck. Are you very wronged? Wen Qiao shook his head. It's okay. Tough talk. I wanted to argue with them, but they were unreasonable at all. I proved to them that Wen Qi was not aggressive, and I brought his psychiatrist there, but they didn't care at all. Who's taking the lead? The principal and his secretary. New. Naturally, capital is also divided into big and small. Compared with Fu's consortium, the board of directors of number 9 middle school has become a small fish and shrimp in the capital. The Fu's consortium's iron hooves passed by, and the small capital did not even have time to struggle, and it was completely destroyed. Within a week, Fu Cheng had negotiated the acquisition. Although the follow-up was complicated, the 9th middle school had changed hands since then. Fu Nanli became the new boss of number 9 middle school. On this day, the sky was blue, the sycamore trees at the school gate began to turn yellow and fall leaves, and 3 black Bentley cars were parked at the gate of 9th middle school. Fu Nanli and Wen Qiao got out of the car. Fu Cheng and Chen Yanfei got off the second car. Lu Yuyu got out of the third car. Well, Lu Yuyu has to feel proud and follow Mr. Fu to help others. This school is bullying people too much. The school's board of directors and management all lined up at the school gate to welcome the new boss who was about to take over. The principal's name is He Yu, and the secretary's name is Du Ying. Principal He was originally wondering how the Fu family would take a fancy to their school, but when he saw Wen Qiao surrounded by people, his face suddenly turned pale. How did you get the support of the Fu family? The group of people sent Fu Nanli and Wen Qiao to the VIP reception room of the school. Fu Nanli sat on the main seat and symbolically asked Fu Cheng about the acquisition, and Fu Cheng reported it. Fu Nanli discussed the handover with the chairman of the board of directors of Zhu Zhongyuan for a while. The Zhou family barely managed to get a foothold in the upper-class society in Haikan. It was an honor for him that young Master Fu could take a fancy to the assets in his hands. Young Master Fu was in a hurry, so he didn't sit back and raise the price, which was equivalent to selling Fu Nanli a favor. It was impossible for Fu Nanli not to remember it. Being able to establish a relationship with the Fu family, this deal is really a good deal. Who are the principal and the principal's secretary? Fu Nanli suddenly changed the subject. The 2 people who were named trembled and stood in front of Fu Nanli. What's wrong, Mr. Fu? The board of directors changes hands, but the management remains unchanged. This is generally the case. But this time, the situation was very special, and the principal was unsure. It was your decision to persuade Wen Qi to withdraw, wasn't it? Principal He's eyes darkened, and he steeled himself and said, because something happened in the school some time ago, a student with the same symptoms hurt someone. It is also very sad for the school to make such a decision. Fu Cheng snorted, Principal, are you still making generalizations now? Wen Kai's symptoms are different from that of that classmate. His sister brought certificates and a psychiatrist to plead for Wen Qi, but you are making generalizations and can't listen at all. Her excuse is that she insists on Wenqi dropping out of school. The two teachers are so one-size-fits-all, which makes people worry about whether they can do a good job in education. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 164. Principal He and Secretary Du Ying were suddenly dripping with sweat. They never expected that they would hit the iron plate. People in the world always bully the weak and fear the strong. If Wenqi had a background from the beginning, the school would not be so forceful and would even take the initiative to find reasons for Wenqi to stay in school and continue studying. Wenqi has been in 9th middle school for 3 years. He has had some small fights, but there is really no record of seriously injuring others, not to mention that there have been no fights in recent months. We didn't think well enough. Principal He had no other choice but to give in to capital. Fu Cheng added, then the principal and secretary should take the blame and resign. The two of them trembled. Capitalists are not philanthropists. Ever since the school was about to be acquired by Fu's consortium, they have always felt that something was wrong, but they still held on to the slightest thought and did not think about the worst. What is the background of Wen Kai's family and who are they? It is clear that the Wen family is rich, but their biological father has divorced them long ago, and there should be no one to stand up for them. But they didn't expect that there were more than just people standing up for them. Moreover, they are the richest and most powerful Fu family in Haikan. Sir, our original intention is good. We are trying to keep other students safe. Fu Cheng smiled. Then, if his surname was Fu, would you still ignore him and insist on asking that child to drop out of school? The principal is at a loss for words. You just pushed that child out as a shield in exchange for society's forgiveness for you. Wenqi did not make any mistakes, but he suffered such unfair treatment. The school should be a strong backing for students, but you not only failed to protect your child, but pushing another child as a shield. Needless to say, resign, you too. Lu Yu, Mr. Fu makes sense. The two people were invited out. Zhou Xiaodong said, it's my fault. I didn't pay attention to this matter, and let them make such a decision. It chilled the students' hearts. Mr. Fu, I'm really sorry. The relevant people who made this decision to dismiss should all be dismissed. Fu Nanli said lightly. Fu Cheng smiled, I know, brother. The school belongs to him, so naturally he has the final say. In addition, give students a psychology class once a week, Fu Nanli said solemnly. Wen Qiao was a little shocked. He thought about everything in detail. Zhou Xiaodong praised, Master Fu is still thoughtful. Nowadays, the general public does not know much about mental illness. It is a good thing to let students know more about it. Fu Chendao, on the other hand, students are under great pressure to study. Schools must provide psychological counseling to relieve students' depressed mood. Zhou Xiaodong, yes, I am really ashamed. I have been working in education for many years, but I am not as thoughtful as Mr. Fu. Fu Nanli looked at Wen Qiao, do you think it's feasible to let Wen Kai's psychiatrist be the lecturer? Wen Qiao nodded, well, Dr. Chen Yanfei has a sense of social ethics and she is a good doctor. I'll have someone contact her. Wen Qiao whispered, she is the most famous in Haikan. She is probably quite expensive. Fu Cheng smiled and said, the most important thing your boyfriend needs is money, sister. The matter was settled in this way. The problem that Wen Qiao couldn't solve after running around and groveling, Fu Nanli easily solved it. This is a society where the weak prey on the strong. Wen Qiao sees clearly that only if she is strong enough can she be able to protect her family. Please vote for recommendation. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 165. After the matter was settled, the group went downstairs. Fu Nanli told Fu Cheng something and walked behind. Lu Yuyu held Wen Qiao's hand and walked in front, clenching her fists and saying, "Qiao Qiao, it's so satisfying. It's so refreshing." Wen Qiao looked back at the man, feeling grateful. Lu Yuyu whispered, "Young Master Fu, who turned into a beauty in anger, is so handsome. He is my male god and my idol. He is also my male god." Lu Yuyu smiled ambiguously, "He is your future husband. He is not a god of men." Wen Qiao grabbed her. The car stopped at the Wutong path next to the administrative building. Lao Hu opened the door early, and Fu Nanli and Wen Qiao got in the car. Mr. Zhou, as well as the members of the board of directors of Number 9 Middle School and the school's senior officials, stood aside and respectfully sent the young master off. The car window was half opened, and Zhou Xiaodong stood at the front. Fu Nanli smiled and said, "Come to Xiaotangshan to get together when you have time. This is equivalent to sending an invitation letter." Zhou Xiaodong quickly said, "Definitely, definitely. The relationship with the Fu family has just started. Even if the school is sent to him for free, he is willing to do so." Fu Nanli nodded slightly and the car slowly left the administration building. Wen Qiao breathed a sigh of relief. Fu Nanli touched the top of her hair, "Okay, don't worry, let your brother come back to study tomorrow." Wen Qiao held his hand with sincere eyes, "I don't know how to thank you." His big hand slid from the top of his hair to his cheeks, "You don't need to say thank you to me." Wen Qiao was not the kind of girl who would throw herself into a man's arms to show her weakness, but the more stubborn she was, the more heartache she felt. Fu Nanli hooked his long hand and hugged the person into his arms. "If you have anything to do in the future, tell me as soon as possible, okay?" Yet her voice was a little muffled. Wen Qiao returned home and was still in the alley when he heard Wen Kai's solemn voice, "In the worst case, I won't go to school. I don't care about that kind of shabby school. In the worst case, I will join a club and play professional games." "You kid, don't talk nonsense. Your sister has to break her legs just to let you study. You must read this book." Mother's voice. "I just don't want her to go around trying to make people smile again. Otherwise, let me ask your Aunt Xiaojun. She has a wide range of connections." "Mom, there's no need to ask Aunt Xiaojun." When Qiao entered the yard. "Ah, don't you need it? Well, 9th Middle School has agreed that Wen Qi will continue to study there." Su Yun was stunned, "Do you agree?" Wen Qi was a little suspicious, "Didn't your tone be very firm before? Why did you suddenly agree? You are justified in going all over the world. I said you are not aggressive. I also brought Dr. Chen with me. I argued with them several times and they agreed." Su Yun didn't think as much as Wen Qi, and cried with joy, "Is it true? Qiao Qiao, is it true?" "It's true, Mom, don't worry, Wen Qi can go to school tomorrow. The school will do some popular science on mental illness in this area for all teachers and students in the school. Then your school is quite reasonable." Wen Qiao smiled, that was because the current boss of the school was reasonable. "Well, Mom, let's make dinner. I'm already hungry." Su Yun wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and entered the kitchen happily. Wen Qi grabbed Wen Qiao's arm and said, "You're not telling the truth. I still know the virtues of the managers in our school." Wen Qiao shrugged and did not respond to his words. Wen Qi squinted at her, "Is it your boyfriend? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 166. Wen Qiao covered his mouth and dragged him into the house. What are you doing?" Wen Qiao let go of his hand and glared at him, "Watch your mouth, aren't you afraid that your mother will hear it?" Wen Qi touched the back of his head, is this really young Master Fu? If it's not your business, just don't do it. Wen Qi raised his eyebrows. That's okay, my brother-in-law has helped me so much, I must treat him to a meal. Wen Qiao pressed his temple. Don't talk about your brother-in-law. He is actually a brother-in-law. Wen Qiao gave up the struggle. Okay, he could scream whatever he wanted. The most urgent task is to teach some people a painful lesson. She hacked into the principal's report mailbox and checked. There were many anonymous reports, but there was only one related to Wen Qi, and the email ID of this one came from Yanjian 504 dormitory. Wen Qiao stared at the computer screen with serious eyes. Why Sulu was so unscrupulous was not because of this incident. The name Wen Qi never appeared, so she would not slap Wen Jianmin in the face. As long as Uncle Wen was not angry, she had nothing to fear. So what if you Wen Qiao knew it was me? What can you do to me? I also think about other students in number 9 middle school and social stability. Wen Qiao went to the black pub and found Yu Shu. Do me another favor. Yu Shu narrowed his eyes at her and patted the table. You recruited me into the folk music club, are you planning to use me as a tool? Wen Qiao smiled. You saw it? Yu Shu glared at her. Tell me, what do you want me to do again? Wen Qiao showed Sulu's photo on her phone. Do you know her, right? Yu Shu rolled his eyes. We are both from the piano department. Do you think I don't know Miss Su who wants to be in the limelight all day long? Help me follow her for a while and figure out her whereabouts. If she went to follow her, Sulu would easily find her. Finding someone she didn't know to follow would not allow Sulu to set up a defense. Okay. Wen Qiao raised his eyebrows and looked at her. Do you know that I have ulterior motives for recruiting you into the folk music club and have no intention of quitting the club? Being idle is also idle. Why not find something to do? It just so happens that I don't like that White Lotus either. Yu Shu is very efficient. 2 weeks later, Sulu's itinerary was handed over to Wen Qiao. Like Wen Qiao, she usually lives at the school. After classes end at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, she will go to the school piano room to practice for a while. She usually goes home around 5:30, which is the Wen family, and she takes a taxi. Go home. Normally, she and Zhao Tong are like conjoined twins, physically and mentally. Oh, by the way, their sister group has recently been joined by several other people, all of whom are the kind of eldest ladies who hate the folk music club. The only time she was alone was when she was on her way back to Wen's house. In the past 2 weeks, she would stay at a violin shop outside the wealthy area. She probably wanted to give a guitar to Zhuang Yan, and then go back on foot. Wen Qiao said to Yu Shu, this Friday, do me another favor. Young lady, you are beautiful, but you can't push yourself too far. Please. Yu Shu narrowed his eyes. You really rely on your beauty to commit crimes, knowing that I can't do anything to you. Actually, it's not difficult, it's just. She leaned close to Yu Shu's ear and whispered a few words. On Friday, Sulu's class ended at 3 o'clock. The 4 of them went to the school's piano room and practiced for a while. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 167. At 5:30, she and Zhao Tong separated. The reserved car was already parked at the back door of the school. She got in the car and was in a good mood. The Fu Group's acquisition of number 9 middle school has not been leaked. The news she has seen on the internet so far is that the trolls are attacking the student who is mentally ill but insists on staying in school. She knows it well, although she has not yet names were mentioned, but that was Wen Qi. The momentum is so huge. Wen Qiao was also helpless. She exhaled, finally regaining some ground. The car stopped at the music store as usual. She paid the fare, got out of the car, and went into the violin store to look at the violin. It cost 40,000 yuan. Now 40,000 yuan was already worth a lot of money to her. Uncle Wen stopped giving money at all. He had spent a lot of money promoting her song before, and she was too embarrassed to ask her mother for money in a short period of time. Let's talk about it later. I can only come over and take a look every week after school. After leaving the door, she walked towards the community. This area of the wealthy area has single-family houses and excellent privacy. The street lights are a bit dim. Some villas are holiday villas. No one comes here on weekdays. Only during the winter and summer vacations, some wealthy people from other places will come with their children. It was quiet everywhere. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned around and saw Wen Qiao. Her legs softened with fright. Before Wen Qiao could do anything, she tripped herself down and fell heavily. He fell to the ground. Wen Qiao came over and squatted in front of her. "Sulu, why are you panicking?" Why did I panic? How could you not panic? You sent an anonymous letter to 9th Middle School, asking 9th Middle School to persuade my brother Wen Qi to quit. Just when Sulu was about to speak, Wen Qiao smiled and said, "Don't deny it, I checked, it's you." Sulu stepped back. "So what if it's me? Your brother is suffering from mania. He has the same symptoms as the student who hurt someone. Leave this kind of harm in the school." Pa! A slap came down, and Sulu's ears buzzed. "You are ignorant, let me tell you, it is called PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Wen Qi is taking medicine, non-aggressive, non-harmful, and whether you are doing it for the good of those students or retaliating against me, I really can't see come out." Sulu was indignant. "Don't spit on others." Wen Qiao clamped her neck. "You have obviously healed your scar and forgotten the pain. Have you forgotten what I told you?" Sulu shivered. "Don't mess around." Wen Qiao smiled, but the smile made Sulu feel creepy. Her fist came so fast, and it came straight to her face, hitting her on the bridge of her nose. Sulu cried out in pain. Wen Qiao just punched her. One punch was enough. Sulu was in pain so much that she felt like the bridge of her nose was broken. She gritted her teeth and stared at Wen Qiao. "Don't even think about getting away with it." Wen Qiao stood up, patted the dust on his hands, and smiled. "Then give it a try. This time I will break the bridge of your nose. Next time, I will break your fingers directly so that you can never play the piano again." After saying that, he left Sulu arrogantly. Sulu looked up and saw that there were monitors at the entrances of these villas. Wen Qiao is dead, she is dead. The pain in the bridge of her nose was so heartbreaking that she endured the pain and returned home, asking her mother to take her to the hospital immediately. "I went to the hospital for a checkup and found that the bridge of my nose was broken." Sulu almost fainted with fright. "What should I do if the bone is broken? Of course I need surgery. Then I will have to wear plaster and gauze on the bridge of my nose for a long time. In principle, that's the case. Don't you want to have surgery?" Sulu almost went crazy. Wen Qiao was so cruel that he even disfigured her. She was unable to participate in various school recitals for a long time. Wen Qiao was so cruel. She won't let Wen Qiao go. Ask for a recommendation vote. In addition, you can leave more messages in the book review area to help us rank higher in the book circle and give us Fu Xiao and Qiao Qiao a place in the rankings. You can also give Shushu a face, negligible, humble. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 168. She held her mother's hand. "Mom, I'm doing the surgery here by myself. Go back immediately and find the property management company in the community and ask them to adjust the monitoring. It was Wen Qiao who beat me like this." Zhonghui couldn't believe it. "What did you say? It's Wen Qiao. What's the difference between her and a gangster? So, I want to sue her, I want to sue her to death. Mom, go quickly. I'm afraid she will do something else if you go late. Zhonghui ran back in a hurry, and the property management company cooperated with her to adjust the surveillance cameras, but found that all the surveillance cameras in the area where her daughter had the accident were broken. How could this happen? Someone must have done something beforehand. The property manager wondered, I don't know. Zhonghui was so angry that she was hysterical. Wen Xiao, that little bitch, did things so thoughtfully. Another angry one. Sulu had to stay in the hospital for 2 days. On the second day, she couldn't bear it anymore and did not follow the doctor's advice. She left the hospital and went to school to find Wen Xiao. She entangled a group of people and went directly to Minal building. Yushu was also present. Sulu gritted her teeth and pointed at Wen Xiao, it was you who beat me like this. Wen Xiao calmly said, you talk nonsense, be careful, I will sue you for slander. Sulu was so angry that she was hysterical. Then tell me, where were you last night? Wen Xiao innocently said, have you heard of the black pub near the school? Sulu was so angry that her face turned red, do you have any evidence? When were you beaten? Why do you ask knowingly? Sulu's eyes were full of anger. Wen Xiao smiled, if you don't tell me, how can I provide an alibi? 6:30. Wen Xiao, why are you pretending to be stupid? Wen Xiao still smiled, unfortunately, I was at the black pub at 6:30, and there is surveillance to prove it. Sulu was filled with indignation, if you have the ability, hand over the surveillance camera and we can identify whether you have done anything wrong. Wen Xiao shrugged, no problem. So, Wen Xiao took a group of people to the black pub and retrieved the surveillance video on the spot. At 6:30 last night, it was really Wen Xiao in the camera. The people who were following Sulu and trying to support her were speechless. Sulu was shocked. How can it be? Is it possible that Wen Xiao still has the ability to clone himself? Wen Xiao didn't have the ability to clone herself, but Lu Yuyu was very good at imitating makeup. They were similar in stature and body shape. She put on Wen Xiao's imitation makeup. Under the cover of night, no one could recognize it. It was a secret. In addition, Sulu also heard that Wen Qi was safe and sound and returned to study in 9th middle school. She heard that someone bought 9th middle school to support him. Sulu's heart sank. It was obvious who that person was. This time she lost her troops and didn't touch Wen Xiao's hair. Instead, she suffered such a big loss. She became a big joke. Pub, Wen Xiao toasted Yushu and Yuyu, thank you for your help. Lu Yuyu snorted, Xiao Xiao, I said you were too gentle. If I were this kind of person, I would have to hit her until she gets scared. Wen Xiao shrugged, she is a stubborn person and can't go on stage for several months. I hope she can have a longer memory. Yushu crossed her legs and said, Green Tea saw you still yelling, do you want me to teach her some more rules? Wen Xiao raised his hand, thank you for your kindness. Please leave her and me alone. Lu Yuyu was still angry. Wen Qi almost couldn't go to school, and Wen Mo's condition almost worsened before. Why is she so mean? Wen Xiao said helplessly, fight with me. I think she is humiliating herself. When she lets you go, she lets herself go. Why don't you understand? She is bad and stupid. It's really irritating. Wen Xiao touched her head, okay, don't be angry. She has been punished. Let's not be affected by her. Sudden update, Happy Christmas Eve to all my cuties, don't forget to eat apples. Recommended votes will be added if the top 15 are ranked. Updates will be added if the book reaches the top 30. Kongaya. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, The boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 169. When Chi had previously said that he would treat his brother-in-law to dinner to repay his kindness, and he actually noted it on his schedule. Moreover, he had Fu Nanli's number and contacted Fu Nanli privately. Wen Chi can also make a little extra money by playing games, and basically does not need living expenses from his family, but it is indeed relatively limited. For the first time in his life, Fu Nanli received an invitation to eat at a small fry shop on the street. In the courtyard, Wen Qiao pressed his temple helplessly. Did you really send a message to Fu Nanli? Yes, what's the matter? Invite him to dine at the Four Seasons restaurant. Yes, his food is the best in our area. Wen Qiao. What did he say? Brother-in-law agreed happily. I'm very happy. On Saturday, at 7 o'clock in the evening, Wen Qiao coaxed her mother to go to Uncle Ji's house for dinner, and then took her two younger brothers to Four Seasons Kuaichao. The small fry shop was quite clean and the business was good. Wen Qiao and the others were seated at the very back, surrounded by noise. She glanced at the man sitting next to her from time to time. The high-end custom-made suit was incompatible with this affordable small fry shop. His expression was indifferent, and he held her hand under the table without showing any signs of it. When Chi was ordering food and said to Fu Nanli, brother-in-law, the owner of this shop and I have a good relationship. The mutton was shipped from the northwest today. It is freshly killed and guaranteed to be fresh. Fu Nanli found it novel. In the past, he had only heard of Arctic clams flown from Japan or snow crabs flown from Australia, but not much about mutton flown from the northwest. Wen Qiao kicked Wen Qi under the table. Just order, don't show off. Wen Qi muttered, how can I show off? Fu Nanli held her hand tightly and said, you are a little strict with your brother. Wen Qi suddenly became excited, brother-in-law, you are my biological brother-in-law. Wen Qiao was speechless and choked. Wen Qi brought the menu to Fu Nanli. Brother-in-law, I ordered some hard dishes, mutton pot, black pepper beef, and ground pot chicken. See what else you want to order. Fu Nanli said with a smile on his face, you make the decision. Wen Qi looked at his sister. Brother-in-law is very approachable. Wen Qiao had nothing to say to him. Hurry up. Brother-in-law, do you drink beer? Ken. Wen Qiao glanced at Wen Qi. You are underage, so you are not allowed to drink. Wen Qi felt aggrieved. How can I entertain others without drinking myself? Fu Nanli pressed Wen Qiao's hand. Let him have a drink. Beer is fine. Wen Qiao breathed a sigh of relief. You can only have one drink. Wen Qi sighed. It turns out that brother-in-law's words are so useful. 2 bottles of beer were served. Wen Qi skillfully opened the bottle cap with chopsticks. Wen Qiao gritted his teeth and said, why are you so skillful? Do you and Xia Boding Hai often drink together? Wen Qi paused and said, how can that be possible? I've never eaten pork, and I've never seen a pig running. Wen Qiao gave him a slap in the face, with a look in his eyes that said, just wait for me, I'll deal with you when I get home. Wen Kai's back was sweating. This meal was quite enjoyable. Holding an ordinary glass from a street fry shop in Fu Nanli's hand, he instantly felt taller. Wen Qiao was a little worried. She leaned into his ear several times and asked him in a low voice, are you used to eating? Wen Qiao was someone who had dined with him several times in Xiaotangshan. They all used high-end ingredients, and he was afraid that the young master would not be used to it here. Fu Nanli pressed her hand under the table and comforted her in a low voice, you're used to it? Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 170. Wen Qi poured him another glass of wine, and Wen Qiao lightly tooted, don't let him drink. Wen Qi looked at his sister, you're not even married yet, and your elbows are turned outward. Protect your shortcomings. Wen Mo just ate in silence and listened to their conversation. Fu Nanli smiled, this little wine won't make you intoxicating. Wen Qiao had a headache. Fu Nanli was giving her brother too much face. After eating a hearty meal, a thin layer of sweat started to form on his back. He felt constrained by the suit tied to his body, so he took off his suit and put it on the back of the chair. Fu Nanli had never felt so disgraceful. After 2 glasses of wine, Wen Qi boldly asked his sister, I always said that I was going somewhere with Lu Yu before, but were we actually going out with my brother-in-law? Wen Qiao squinted at him. How bold! How dare you question your sister? Fu Nanli turned to look at Wen Qiao, 2 times in Germany, did you tell your family that you went out with Lu Yu? Wen Qiao was helpless and could only reply, yes. Fu Nanli pinched her fingers. Wen Qiao, I didn't tell my mother because I was afraid she would be worried. When will you tell me? Wen Qiao is a little helpless. She has no plans to tell her mother at the moment. Not to mention that they are fake, even if they are real, her mother is afraid of wealthy families and feels that wealthy families are in deep water and are not suitable for her temperament. My mother would not object to anything too much, but she would be worried all day long. I have to pick the right time. Fu Nanli knew something about the Wen family and what her mother was worried about, so he didn't force her. The meal was in a good atmosphere. After the meal, Fu Nanli was a little tipsy. Wen Kite was sensible, brother-in-law is a little drunk, please send him home. What about you? Xiao Mo and I will walk back. Be careful. Are you really treating us like 3-year-old babies? Fu Nanli leaned against the car, holding the suit in his hand, looking a bit sluggish, watching Wen Qiao telling her brother, and after a while, she ran towards him, jumping up and down the steps, and ran to him. The autumn evening breeze blew her long hair, and the warm lamp behind her made her hair hairy. I'll take you back. She supported him and got into the car. Fu Nanli drank more than a bottle of beer, but he was not drunk, but he deliberately exaggerated his drunkenness because he enjoyed Wen Qiao's care. He closed his eyes and leaned on the leather seat, leaving a crack in the car window. The autumn evening breeze blew in, and the smell of wine was thick on Wen Qiao's nose. She turned around and took out a bottle of water from the car refrigerator, unscrewed the cap and handed it to his mouth, drink some water. Fu Nanli opened his eyes and took 2 sips obediently. Wen Qiao wiped the corners of his mouth with his hand, I asked you to drink less, but you just didn't listen. Fu Nanli closed his eyes again, held her hand, and rubbed it carefully. 2 more bottles won't be a problem. But she was worried that his appearance was a bit touching. At the gate of the community, Wen Qiao got off the car and went to a convenience store to buy a bottle of pure milk, and then helped him go upstairs together. She settled the man on the sofa in the living room and whispered, I'll heat up the milk for you. It will feel better if you drink it. Fu Nanli pressed his temple and responded, yes. After 10 minutes, the milk was warmed up. She held the cup, sat next to him, and fed him milk, like a virtuous little wife. As he took a sip of milk, his Adam's apple moved up and down. He looked at her drunkenly, we'll leave tomorrow. Wen Qiao wiped the corners of his mouth, a little confused, I drank a bottle and a half of beer, so I shouldn't be very drunk. There is one more chapter to be written before I post it. Please give me a recommendation vote, Mua.